Alabama's 32-13 victory over Florida on Saturday ended Tim Tebow's bid to win his third national title in 4 years. In all likelihood, the loss will also prevent Tebow from becoming the second player in history to win 2 Heisman trophies. Voting for the Heisman wraps up 5 Eastern today, and ESPN.com senior writer Pat Forde joins us now to tell us how he filled his ballot. Now, Pat, the ballots only asked for 3 players, but I want to go top 5, and let's start with number 5. On your ballot in your mind, who would you vote for?
Really, you could almost go top 7. I think this is so wide open this year. But my number 5 person I put was C.J. Spiller from Clemson. He's the most versatile player in college football. Went out on a great last note for voters to remember him by 233 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns in the ACC championship game against Georgia Tech. He scored 11 rushing touchdowns this year. He scored 5 times on kick returns, Kevin. He scored 4 times on reception, and he's thrown a touchdown pass. Problem is, Tech is not a great defense, and just the week before when he played mid-pack of the SEC, South Carolina, he did almost nothing other than a kickoff return for a touchdown, but from scrimmage managed almost nothing at all.
He was unstoppable.
He was electric.
Tampa Bay.
He really was.
It was unbelievable. How about number 4 for you?
All right, number 4, I've got Mark Ingram from Alabama, and I feel terrible. This guy's had a great season on the number 1 team, and when you're 4th on a Heisman ballot, it's like being 4th on the medals podium in the Olympics. You're not there, basically. You know, 4th is a tough place to be. There's really nothing you can say that Ingram has done wrong this year, except he did not have a good game against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Was held to 30 yards rushing. He did have a hip pointer in that, but even before he was injured, he didn't get much done. He was great against Florida. Had 113 yards rushing, had the huge screen pass, 3 touchdowns there. But I found 3 players I like more than him.
Against the best defense in the nation?
Against the best. You know what? Greg McElroy was the best Alabama offensive player.
He was. He was the key in that game, no matter what, Now, last year, Tebow garnered the most first-place votes, still finished in 3rd. So who gets your vote in 3rd place?
Number 3, I've got Kellen Moore, the Boise State quarterback. He's one guy that I think has been badly underappreciated. Leads the nation in pass efficiency by a mile. And then, Kevin, if you go inside those numbers, they're even more impressive. 39 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's just crazy. His touchdown percentage, 10% of his throws are for touchdowns. That's easily the best in the country. Only 0.8% of his throws have been intercepted. That's the 2nd lowest in the country. By the way, his team is 13-0. He's not the only undefeated. You know, Colt McCoy gets the attention being the quarterback of the undefeated team out there as a Heisman candidate. Kellen Moore's had a better season than Colt McCoy.
Credit to you to have the courage to have this ballot the way it is, because a lot of people overlook Kellen Moore. They of course, look at Boise State and say, who have they played? But he deserves all the credit out there, considering the season he had. Well, all right, what about your Heisman runner-up?
All right, runner-up, I've got, and this was a tough call for me whether I wanted him 1st or 2nd on my ballot, Toby Gerhart of Stanford, just a freight train of a running back, and he's had a wonderfully consistent season. I think his lowest game rushing was 86 yards, only 2 games under 100 yards rushing. He's 2nd in the nation in rushing yards per game. He is 1st in touchdowns with 26. And he did it against good competition, Kevin. 7 of Stanford's last 8 opponents were bowl eligible. And against those teams, Gerhart averaged 156 yards per game.
This was the year of the quarterback. Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow, Colt McCoy. And so far, you haven't mentioned any of them. And now, of course, we know about Bradford. So at number 1, is it a Tebow-McCoy matchup?
It's a defensive tackle.
Really?
Yes, it is. The year of the quarterback has come down to a defensive tackle. Ndamukong Suh was unbelievable in the Big 12 championship game. 4.5 sacks against Texas, 6 tackles for loss, 11 total tackles. Those are astonishing numbers for a defensive tackle. And he's playing against a great opponent, an undefeated team with a very good offensive line. I've said all season, he reminds me of Reggie White. He may not end up being as good as Reggie White, but in terms of physically explosive power, he is phenomenal. He's going to be a top 5 NFL pick. And you know what? I think he is the best player in the country, which is what the award is supposed to be. And you know what? He's gotten a little bit of a groundswell of support here in the 11th hour. I think it's going to be really interesting to see whether he makes it to New York.
He threw Tebow around like a rag doll in one of those sacks that we saw.
Yeah. That was a Reggie White-like play.
Yeah. Why not McCoy? Why not Tebow?
Well, you know what? Tebow he's the best leader in college football that I've ever seen. I can't go there with him, though, because his stats just were fairly ordinary. And in the big game against Alabama, didn't play particularly well. And then McCoy, same thing. His stats, from a passing perspective, are worse than Tim Tebow's were. And you know how sometimes guys have that signature Heisman winning play? He had a Heisman losing play to me, Kevin, when he almost ran out the clock with the football in his hands.
I give you credit,
and
I hope Sue wins, but who do you think really is going to win? Give me one name.
You know, I think it's Ingram probably.
Yeah.
That's who I would go with.
Yeah, considering he's with the nation's #1 team and what they did to Florida. We'll see, of course. Saturday should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of doubt out there. Who's going to get invited, who's going to be there, and, of course, who's going to win. Pat Forde, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin.